I've had this figure since the start of October, but there was Beast Wars week and then the week of shorts, which will return on Tuesday. Then I wanted an extra easy week in October, so there was the week of Review-A-Mans, and then lastly there was the Halloween video and a lot of news that came out too. So sorry I couldn't make this one in a timely manner, but let's hope that it's worth the wait. Also, I finally have a new keyboard that doesn't suck. Unfortunately, the keys are all just a bit closer together than my old one, so I keep hitting enter by accident and sending messages I haven't finished yet. I suppose after 20 years of using the same keyboard, no replacement that wasn't just the exact same thing again was going to keep me from going insane. But yeah, I've already been way more attentive of your comments thanks to the fact that it's not cancerous to type on this thing. Anyways, it's Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. And yes, mine has the error with the feet. It looks 0% different. I'm not fixing it. I don't care. But first, your likes! Please give, maybe subscribe. I don't think I've ever felt as vindicated by a single figure before. Hasbro announces that they are making a Commander-class Optimus Prime, and ironically, given my worries about the 86 Megatron, while most people are going around at the time sure that Optimus is going to turn out to be a retool of the Earthrise figure, I'm confident that it will be an entirely new design. People didn't believe me, and I was called an idiot more than a few times. Then it gets revealed, and I turned out to be right. From there, I think a lot of people try and forget this now, but there was a huge consensus about this thing that it looked lame, the backpack was unreasonable, and that the Earthrise figure was better. Meanwhile, I immediately loved the look of this, and was laughing at the people complaining about the backpack because it's no bigger than average, and they were just looking for a reason not to be impressed. People called me an idiot for that too. Now that people have it in hand, I've not heard a single bad word about it. Then before it came out, people claimed that it was a downscaled version of the MP44 and that it would be savagely overcomplicated. Despite never handling the Masterpiece 3.0, I could tell just by looking at this thing that it wasn't going to be based on that in any way. People told me that I was full of shit. Now everyone knows that this thing had nothing to do with the 3.0. But for me, there is no part of this story that's more important than how it began. I'm fairly sure that you all remember this about me, but from the goddamned inception of my channel, I have always maintained Earthrise Optimus is lame. It's not half as accurate as people pretend, and it looks terrible. I've been called an idiot so many times for that take. I've been called a contrarian. I've been called a hater. And here I sit 4 years later with a figure that proved me right at every single turn. Vindication feels so good. And let me tell you, if 86 Megatron turns out to be a Megatronus retool and people don't start calling me a prophet, I will become even more insufferable than I already am. And I know that you don't think that that's possible, but it is. Anyways, let's cease my well-deserved gloating and actually talk about this figure. And let me be just a bit self-indulgent here for a second and point at it. Do I really need to bother reviewing this? You have eyes. You can see. It's good. I know people tried to cope that the Earthrise was just as good as the Commander class. No, not even close. Not even in the same ballpark. Not in the same league. Not in the same species. This is the marmoset to human of the Transformers. Clearly related in some form, but not on the same evolutionary track. While the Earthrise looks like the general idea of Optimus Prime if he contracted a horrible disease after being savaged by a horde of scraplets, then getting a Brazilian butt lift all filtered through a hazy memory of a drunken one-night stand, 86 Optimus just looks like the plutonic ideal of the perfect Optimus. Yeah, his back isn't the cleanest any Optimus figure has ever had, but it's not bad. And yes, the grill is fake. God damn it, the grill is fake. But it looks better than the ER's goopily painted mess. And it stores in a way different place, rather than just getting covered up by the actual grill. The sculpting does an amazing job at both, not just completely evoking the clean character design of the cartoon, but also adding lively details that makes it even more interesting. And the plastic is the kind of stuff that makes this fandom's mouth water. It's just gorgeous to behold. You often hear me talking about hand candy, and there is a degree of that here, but this is more pronouncedly eye candy. Yeah, it feels good to hold, but it feels even better to look at. Quite likely my favorite detail of all is the completely flat shoulder badge sitting proudly on his right arm. A lot of figures make this a sculpted detail, and while I get the temptation to do that, it being drawn on like a cartoon come to life in my house just feels so right. His titty windows are also gorgeously painted on the inside with a fine coat of silver shining through the blue plastic, and they even mounted these in the objectively correct way, by making the clear parts inserts on opaque plastic. And so thin at that. Hasbro, if you have this technology, why do you keep doing it like you're trying to design the figures to be perishable? Anyways, it's just about impossible for me to get my fingers in there to get the chest gimmick open, but once you do, this is an Optimus with the full Matrix gimmick. None of that Earthrise half-finished bullshit. There is a full door protecting the Matrix inside, which, oh great, the same Matrix every figure ever has had. Whatever, for once I'm not mad about this. This is an Optimus who has the touch, the power, and the mandate to die so that way he can pass this thing off to Hot Rod. It's so funny that this is such an iconic accessory for him, considering that in the movie it's from, he never used it, then he died, and then when it showed up in the live-action movies, it's because he died, and then after that, he just gave it away to the villain of the third one. Has Bro ever lighted our darkest hour? That sounds like a sex act. Now normally I wouldn't start talking about the accessories before that section of the video, but I think that it's really important to present Optimus during the appearance segment with his trailer. At least when it's done this well, because this is as iconic a part of Optimus as Megatron's fusion cannon is to him. Even if it wasn't really displayed much when he was in robot mode in the show, or really ever. And just, oh, that's gorgeous. That's everything. That hits me in the childhood. Especially when you open it up, just like the actual G1 toy I had once upon a time did. Yes, the Earthrise had the trailer. Yes, it did the same gimmick too, but it just wasn't the same, man. It's amazing what putting actual quality into this accessory does for the feel. It just hits different. This must be the feeling that everyone thought that they were getting from the $1 piece of trash that came with the ER, but it's actually an accessory of a quality high enough that I would buy it on its own at deluxe price. His little robot repair friend isn't as adorable as the Earthrise version, so point to the ER amazingly. But at the same time, this is just so much more classic looking. It fills me with the deep nostalgia and confusion I had as a child. Yeah, when I was little, I totally didn't understand this part of the Optimus Prime package. Like, why does his trailer have a robot tower thing in it? He's totally supposed to have this little car guy, but this isn't in the show, and things that are different are new and scary. But yeah, this playset factor for this version of Optimus is working so much better than it did back, Jesus, almost 5 years ago at this point. Time is kicking all of our asses, but it's kicking mine especially hard right now. This thing is just firing on all cylinders. His plastic feels great, the joints are smooth to the point of being creamy, the deco is magnificent, and something about it just screams good time chug. It looks swole and powerful in a way that now makes the Earthrise guy look like the tweaker version of Optimus strung out on way too many meth. Just all of the meth's Optimus. The one negative thing I really have to say about this figure is that I hate the way that his smokestacks are just pegged on so they can rotate. Bumping these to have to straighten them out over and over is skin-crawlingly annoying. I guess it's to help with a few poses like this where the pylons would have gotten in the way. I mean, that's my best guess as to why this is like this, because otherwise it's just a stupid thing to do, and Hasbro can't make completely nonsensical decisions. It's like against the law or something. I suppose the other negative thing I can really say about this guy is just the head, which is literally just a shrunk-down version of the Masterpiece 2.0's noggin. It's the exact same thing with new, thicker ears, so that way little Timmy can't stab his eyes out on Optimus's pointy parts. This isn't a terrible head, but it's a boring one that's never been quite right. It's too wide and round, and it doesn't carry Prime's personality as well as, say, the Christmas version does. Tighten this up, and you have a way better head. Though, again, I don't hate this one, it just feels like there are better choices to be made than to copy the dome off of a 15-year-old figure that the rest of this thing is already deeply surpassing. So this is hands down the best-looking, most accurate Chug Optimus ever released. The shoulder pipes are a complete and total nitpick, and the head isn't that big a deal, but the body is everything that you could ask for, with a backpack that's insanely reasonable. If you think that this is somehow more egregious than Earthrise's rubber butt cheeks stapled to his ass, then you are insane. And even if you do think that, I don't see how you could look at the rest of this thing and not be all over the robot mode. It's not perfect for the character, but it is very close to this truly iconic robot design, and the quality just makes that all the better. This thing has the level of care put into it that the community would probably sacrifice goats in pagan rituals to get. If all other figures had QC this good, Hasbro's reputation would be so golden that they might have actually been able to convince people to go see Transformers 1. You know, if they actually bothered telling anyone that it existed. As for accessories, I don't usually say this, but it's just incredible. First up, Optimus comes with his gun. I prefer the versions of this with a more open tip, but this is still really great. It looks fantastic, though his ability to keep a grip on it isn't the best thanks to the shallow peg, which is a weirdly consistent problem Hasbro's been having lately. It's like they're trying to save on plastic by cutting down the handles to 100 atoms. This is Blast Effect compatible, it can store on his back or in his trailer or on roller. Speaking of roller, Optimus finally comes with some version of roller. It's always been super weird that the Earthrise version came with a medbay robot that he never had in the show, but not roller. This is painted fantastically, unironically rolls great, is able to have a headmaster ride it with some finagling, and is able to mount many of the accessories in several ways, like the medbay robot, who roller can attach to help him hold place in the trailer through these two pegs, or hop on his back for a fun little mobility mode. The medbay robot can move pretty freely, though there are several ranges where it's more limited than you might expect it to be, and it's got a fun little grabby arm and an opening cockpit for toys that weren't sold in America back in the day. This little guy is Blast Effect compatible on the two little headlight thingies he has too, which brings me to the Blast Effects Optimus comes with. He's got these two standard laser blasts. It might have been clever to add some Blast Effect nubs to his backpack, so that way they could be his version of Sideswipe's jetpack, but alas, no. They can attach to his shoulder stacks for some reason, but I guess that's true of any Blast Effects, and these can store in his trailer in these dedicated racks, or in this cool little opening compartment in the rear wheel wells, which is kind of hard to open. The laser axe can be stored in the same places, and also attaches to his wrist via 5mm peg, so you can do some really stupid stuff with that. Then he's got the Blast Effects to recreate that one scene from that one time in his alt mode. You know the one. Considering that Optimus was basically killed by a regular blaster in the 86 movie, I have always interpreted the flame jets coming out from the underside of his alt mode that launched him into the air as actually an injury. He was getting shot at the grill at the time, so I always just figured that it caused something inside of him to explode. Then he just played it off really cool by jumping in the air and kicking a lot of ass on the way down. Lastly, and most importantly, he has his trailer, and just... the vibe is right. The plastics are wondrous, the paint glorious, the gimmicks insane. It's got the stand, it's got the stabilizers, it's got the storage, it can attach rollers so he can take it all the places that it needs to when Optimus isn't using it. And it's large. This is a trailer that could devour lesser, shittier trailers if the geometry weren't slightly off. And it's just big enough to be awesome, well not so big as to become a total space hog. Oh, and he's got the matrix that he can hold stored in his chest that I need a tool to open up every time. So while I may be super done with matrices, I'm fine with this one getting this one, as it's necessary to get the complete, definitive, all-in-one Optimus Prime. And yeah, there are no more accessories that I can think of that they could have possibly come up with for this dude. Outside of a different character's jetpack, he has them all. While normally I don't think that this category ever sells a figure, this is one instance where yes, absolutely, one of the most compelling reasons to pick this guy up is for the accessories. But the articulation is no slouch either. Head has a good amount of side to side and a full swivel, plus you can untransform it for a bit of down and a lot of up. Shoulders pull a 90 and have a decent backwards butterfly. By using the forwards butterfly, which on my copy is insanely stuck every time I try to pull them out, you can get even more backwards butterfly. Yes, by using the forwards you get further back. Magic of toys. And just a huge forwards butterfly butterfly that gets his arms all the way across his chest. Elbows sadly only bend to 90. I thought for sure you could swivel them at the joint here and get more bend out of them going backwards out of this ugly cutout, but no. Hands that have a wrist swiv with a multi-jointed pointer and an equally multi-jointed 3 other fingers, and you can untransform the arms for fake sword-wielding wrists. Hip skirts are like somehow semi-connected and want to move in unison, but the legs are unimpeded in all directions, and thanks to the skirts, they don't look way too long like the damn Earthrise. A good bit better than 90 knees, and feet with a great rocker and a heel and toe down. So the biggest disappointment of this figure is the elbows and to a lesser extent the knees. There's really not much of a reason to design these so that way they can't get more range than they have, but everything else is amazing, from the solid head to the advanced multi-jointed shoulders to the hips and ankles, and even the knees are pretty damn good, though it's just always better to get maximum joints there. And then you have the transformation. First up, always remember to get these pegs out of the sides of the feet when going into vehicle mode. A patron of mine broke his figure, not realizing that he had to do that. Easiest way to get them out is to use the ankle pivot, then press the tab from the inside of the foot and close it back up. Anyways, from there, it's super fun. One annoying part is the way that the hands fold away, just because it's kind of hard to open the doors, but the worst part is getting the head past tabs that are way too strong to get it where it's supposed to go, and going into robot mode, it might be even worse for this part. I am worried about scratching the red paint on the sides of the panels here, but it's also a really satisfying step, and I think that this might have taken some Kingdom Rodimus inspiration, with the way that the upper and lower torsos have to swivel independently. The grill is fake, and that's always a minor bummer, but they've still put enough effort into this part to make it satisfying as well, and that's just kind of the theme of the whole transformation. Almost everything that could have been lame has been designed so well and so interestingly that it becomes fun, so long as the forces required to do them are reasonable. And it's doing a lot more than your average figure without being daunting. This is a complicated transformation that's actually enjoyable to flip back and forth on. A lot of the time, a transformation that gets to this level of complexity really makes me dread doing it on camera because it's so hard to film. But as I write this, I have no worries. This is a really good process. And then the alt mode is just a beautiful cube. You know me. I like squares, and this might be the squarest of the Optimuses. It gets a little ropey right here at the rear of the cab, but I mean a little. And just look at this thing. Save for the slit here, this is basically a perfect looking Optimus. I feel like I'm looking at the Transformers Devastation game model. It's so perfect and square and square and gorgeous and square. The gap in the back that some Optimuses have is so wonderfully disguised here. Looking at you, Earthrise. And then you pair it with the trailer and just forget about it. Several years ago, Thew described the Earthrise Optimus as having a sense of completeness because of the trailer, and I've always disagreed with that. That accessory was so overly small and cheap looking, and combined with the extremely overhyped alt mode, it just never gave off the right vibe. This is complete. This is satisfaction incarnate. It's weirdly breathtaking. I have a Masterpiece figure that had its trailer, and it just doesn't hit like this does. It's my childhood, and everything I ever wanted to see from this design and for this character made manifest. The robot mode was very good, but this is its best mode. This silly little truck with its Freightliner trailer feels like it means something, like it just matters so much more than most other figures I've ever handled. This is why I say that Hasbro, despite their laziness and their cheapness that they constantly abuse us with, is still capable of making amazing figures, because visually on its own, this brings me low. This alt mode defeats me. It defeats my criticism, my resentment at being taken advantage of with other releases, my knowledge that they don't respect us. It completely demolishes all of that and just leaves me with a sense of wonder. Yes, this is just me, my emotions and how I feel. It is not objective criticism, but also it's just objectively a great toy of a truck. The trailer sits far enough back to not inhibit the turning in any way. With or without the trailer, it rolls great, which you might think it would have trouble with dragging all of that extra mass behind itself. The launching blast effects just make the touch start screaming in my ears. Seeing Optimus with all his buddies is magical. This is a dream come true, and this figure is the absolute complete package. This is now the definitive Chug Optimus, and it is significantly better than many of the Masterpiece or third-party offerings for this character. The worst aspect of this guy is that the elbows and knees could have had a bit more range, and that the head feels like it doesn't have the same level of witchcraft put into it that the rest of the figure got, especially since it's a weird reuse. The robot mode is insanely good, extremely clean from the front, and far from having the worst back of any figure. The quality makes me weak in the knees, the accessories for quite possibly the only time ever make me weep, the posability is great, the transformation is very fun, and the alt mode is a special experience, the likes of which it's just hard to explain. And while some of this reaction I am having to this thing is my subjective experience, as someone who grew up and wanted something like this for so long, something that could make my childhood dreams come true, a lot of it is just that this is an awesome toy. I think that if you get a hold of one of these, you will absolutely love it, because honestly, the name Masterpiece isn't really good enough for this figure. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer. If you'd like to get on the wheel yourselves, you can join the Patreon or the channel memberships. Also, there's a backers Discord that you get access to by doing that, which I found out not all of my backers know about. So if you are already a member or patron, the links to the Discord are available. And if you can't find them, just ask me. And this time it's not actual content with Iron Trans Starblade, which is a Starsaber with an anime-ass design. This looks like everything the Masterpiece wished it was. A posable, powerfully proportioned Blade Master leader of the Autobots, who looks like he could kick so much ass. I don't like the Transformers animes, and I don't like the super robot aesthetic when it's applied to the Transformers, but this figure here is making a pretty serious case for it. I'm kind of loving what I see. Good to know that his alt mode will always be a giant indistinct space object wearing a helmet though. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.